You're listening to Happy Healthy Hormones with Dr. Chris. Are you tired of the short-term patch to your health problems? Is avoiding medications and surgeries important to you? If you answered yes, then your prayers have been answered. Dr. Chris has been helping people transform their health for over a decade. He's a world-renowned health expert who specializes in holistic health. He's a professional speaker, chiropractor, and international best-selling author. It's his mission to help you reach your full God-given potential through holistic health and healing. Get ready to be inspired and transformed. Here's your host, Dr. Chris.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the show where disease takes a dive and people come to thrive. I'm excited to have you here with me today to help you rise yourself to a higher level of health. And when you have a higher level of health, you are able to do things that you never once thought possible. You were able to get back your old level of production, be more impactful in your jobs, in your families, in your communities, and in your own quest to just have a higher level of understanding and purpose and serve others. And so today, in this show, we're going to be talking about indigestion, heartburn, and acid reflux. Now, although we're talking about the big three, this also includes things like irritable bowel syndrome, constipation, gas, bloating, any of those things that are really related to this GI problem. We're going to be talking about today because when we look at the causes of the GI problems, the indigestion, the heartburn, the acid reflux, it stems around weight gain, autoimmune diseases, it causes food intolerances, there's allergies, arthritis involved. It just destroys people's health. But it is literally affecting millions of people every year in our country. It's a chronic disease. It's something that starts off as not that big a deal, like most diseases, and then it develops from there. And a lot of times it's just that slow death. It's like that slow heating up of the frog, right? If you slowly heat that frog up, it doesn't know what's going on, and eventually you got frog legs you're eating. Versus, we get thrown into a traumatic experience. Well, we respond right away. We do something about it. But, a lot of times when we get into these situations, we don't really know what to do. And so we just slowly go down the typical path of, our cousin Billy or our Aunt Sue or our mom or our dad. And we could start popping the Tums and the purple pills and the Paxils and everything else. And before you know it, you're having other issues just to try to get rid of the issues from the pills you're taking. And a lot of times those problems are worse than the thing you were trying to get rid of in the first place. And you look around and say, how in the heck did I get where I'm at today? Just a couple years ago, I was quote unquote healthy. What was really going on inside of our body? So what is it? What's happening? Why are our GI systems starting to break down? Well, it really comes back down to understanding the analogy of the fish net, right? So if you've ever gone fishing before and you've gone fishing with a fish net, well, you put up these big nets and the fish get caught up in it as you troll it behind a boat. Well, eventually, as time goes on, your nets start to get worn down. They get holes in the nets, and then eventually you start catching less and less fish because more fish are getting out of those holes in the net. Well, essentially, think of your stomach and your GI system and everything associated with that. It's like a fish net, right? It's able to keep the things in there and not let the things get out that aren't supposed to get out. And so what happens is eventually your stomach, from different lifestyle habits we have, things we're exposed to, starts to develop holes in our GI system, in that net. And eventually it starts letting things out. This is really important to understand because a lot of times it starts to affect our blood system because things start to get into our blood system. Food particles, protein particles, nutrients and macronutrients that weren't supposed to be able to get into our bloodstream. And now it starts to create an inflammatory response. All right, we start to get the gluten intolerances. We start to get bacteria into the bloodstream. We start to have more inflammation. And we start to have that more inflammation. That causes the inflammatory response of inflammation now. And now we start to have some big problems because now our body starts to want to fight against what's going on inside of our body, which is no bueno, no good. And if it's there long enough, then we start to develop the IBS, the leaky gut, leads to the immune abnormalities, autoimmune diseases, the lupus, the RA, not just the indigestion, heartburn, and acid reflux that you're starting with now. So you think like, oh, it's not a big deal. I just pop some Tums, pop this. Well, what is that going to lead into, right? What is that going to continue to create in your body? Most people think that people just need to take some drugs that are going to decrease the stomach acid. Well, a lot of times that's not actually the problem. So how do you even know if you have these issues? Well, I don't know if I've had acid reflux. I don't know what that feels like, right? Well, I mean, it starts out, you can get things like bloating, skin issues, weight gain, prediabetes, food sensitivities, IBS, diverticulitis. All these things can create the malabsorption. So it starts to affect maybe even your weight in other areas as well. But then also, you start to get that burning feeling when you start, after you eat food, you can start to lay down, you feel the nauseousness. Those are all signs. But what are the most common treatments? Well, most people, they look at the medications, right? They look at the purple pill, the Pepcid, the Zantac, the Nexium. Many of these drugs, though, aim to decrease the stomach acid. But a lot of these issues, the indigestion, the heartburn, the acid reflux, are caused from not too much, but too little acid being produced in your stomach. So you're totally counteracting what's trying to happen. And although it might create a different change in your equilibrium in your stomach, and create some temporary relief, long term is just a Band-Aid, and those problems are going to get worse, and eventually you're taking more and more of these Tums. You're starting to develop ulcers now. You're starting to get cancerous polyps, and the list goes on, and the disease gets worse and worse. So when we look at really what causes this, we got to look and understand, okay, what is our diet looking like? Because the most common is from a poor diet. We also get chronic stress, right? If you're stressed, you're going to have issues. Remember, the chronic disease is not caused from stress. Stress is a good thing, but it's when it becomes chronic stress that it becomes an issue. We also look at toxic overloads, bacterial imbalance, and then also the nerve interference that affects the organs and the tissues around those areas, right? So understand that when we start to have these effects on our physiology, it affects other areas of our body as well, not just that one area of physiology. That all of our physiology works and is connected off of each other. So let me give you an example. When we have that leaky gut, right, because of these bad lifestyle things that have happened in our lives, there are many things we didn't even know we were being exposed to, right? And no fault of our own, but gluten, for instance, might get into our gut and then get into our bloodstream because we have holes punched out of our stomach lining now in our intestine. Well, that goes into the blood, which then goes into our brain, and it starts to have similar effect like an opioid drug would, right, from food that we've eaten because of problems we've had in the past. So understand, I mean, this is a big deal, and we can't just let that continue to go on. So what are some foods that cause it, right? Well, unsprouted grains is a big one. This really creates a problem because they have what are called phytates, which don't allow you to absorb food properly. Sprouted grains don't have the phytates anymore, and so it gets them out of your diet and not a problem. Biblically, this is how we were used to consume grains. But now with gluten being more prevalent in the wheat products because they've actually been bred to have more gluten and then more sugar associated with that as well. And also the other foods that cause this a lot of times too are A1 casein. A1 casein, no, I'm sorry, not A1 casein. A1 casein, let me back up. A1 casein is actually the only recommended form of dairy. It's the other forms of casein that are problems. So you really want to stay away from pasteurized dairy. That's a big one. But then also looking at sugar. It promotes yeast, candida. It produces toxins, punctures those holes in the wall of our cells. And then processed foods, very acidic foods. These are not good for our stomach, not good for our bodies, and creates the chronic issues. Now, when we look at the chronic stress, this is probably the number one cause of ulcers and colitis. So again, how are you perceiving stress? Right? Are you just like go all the time? Are you taking time for yourself to de-stress, unwind, take a load off, but don't always just be going? GMOs, pesticides, over-the-counter medication, prescription meds, these are all going to break down the lining of our stomach as well and start to create some long-term damage. Sometimes those things can't even be reversed. I remember this one patient, Tom, he was taking a bottle of antacids a week, a bottle, like one of those Costco bottles. They're huge. He was always avoiding parties. He couldn't work out because of the side effects of the drugs. We started to help him heal his gut through eliminating some things, starting to add some things to help repair that, removing some of the interference that his nervous system now had been damaged because of that, and it was even affecting more of things like his stomach and his GI and everything else, and it started to heal his gut. He started to create some new habits, started to get off the medications he was on, and he got back to working out. He lost 20 pounds, and the cool thing is he was able to pass his physical to get in to become a policeman in the police academy. Right, but if he would have kept going down that same road, he never would have lived out his dream. He never would have been able to impact the people that he does today. And it's all because he just started to get to the cause of the problem instead of going the easy route, which is really the hard route long-term of taking the medications, covering up the symptom, right? So there's really a 4-step plan to helping overcome these things. Number 1 is you got to replace the foods. This is huge. Replace the bad foods, foods that are acidic, foods that are going to create an unfavorable environment, right? Meaning the processed foods, the ones that have the pesticides that aren't organic, that are creating that sugar load, get that out. You got to heal the gut, right? So there's 5 easy things to do to promote gut healing. Number 1, drink more water. 90 ounces to a gallon of water. That's a game plan. Get the clean water. You can go to purewaterfreedom.com. It's a good resource. Start to use the apple cider vinegar in your water even before meals. Helps with the digestive health also. Starting to drink green tea. Has a lot of what are called catechins, which help fight fat storage and metabolism, but really help restoring the GI system. Superfood smoothies for breakfast. These are amazing. Add some flaxseed, some spinach, some avocado, those berries. Amazing. I love those. And then real bone broth helps heal the gut as well. So this is something you can even make at home if you really want to get creative, or you can buy it. You can get the protein version of this as well. And then even incorporating some raw cultured dairy like kefir, amasi. Those are amazing. The raw sauerkrauts. And then getting into some things like some raw digestive enzymes also. And then just make sure that you heal the nervous system, because remember that nervous system is what is controlling the stomach. If you just took your stomach out of your body, set it there on the table, and put a sandwich in it and expected that stomach to digest the food without any nerve connection, it wouldn't, right? I mean, it's just silly, but it would just stay there. You got to have that nerve connection. Make sure that the digestive system is functioning like it should, but not just struggling your whole life. You know, it comes back to this one patient I always remember about, Betty. She struggled with constipation her whole life for like 30 or 40 years. She was on 5 meds. It was affecting her sleep. Found it affected her time with her grandkids. She couldn't even play with them. She didn't have the energy for them anymore. Turned out she'd been in an accident as a child. It created subluxation, which is that interference in the nervous system. We got that corrected, started to get it stable. Constipation started to go away, digestive change, got off the medications, started to sleep again, got her energy back, and now she's running around with her grandkids, chasing them around, getting on the floor with them, just having the time of her life, because she was able to get to the cause of her issues, right? And really start to heal from the inside out and rebuild the foundation to her health. And that's what it's all about, because your body doesn't need any help healing. It just needs no interference. Take care.
Thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please help more people in reaching their fullest potential, and rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast. For show notes and other free resources we mentioned today, go to newedgewellness.com.